This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. The Mescalero Apache Tribe is calling for the resignation of U.S. Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs Tara Sweeney. The New Mexico tribe sent a letter to President Trump this week, raising concerns about Sweeney's ties to Alaska Native corporations and their inclusion in the $8 billion in tribal COVID-19 relief aid in the CARES Act. Mescalero Apache President Gabe Aguilar believes Sweeney has a conflict of interest as a former businesswoman for an Alaska Native corporation. Aguilar says Mescalero is joining other tribes which have already called for her to resign.
During this time of COVID-19, we've been working very hard with everybody in the federal government, working with our lobbyists, and we've just been trying to push and push. It has come to our attention that, Ms. Tara Sweeney has tried to include Alaskan corporations. This money was set aside for tribes. So a bunch of tribal leaders have been on calls. We've been talking and saying how unfair this was, so we didn't feel it was right. So what some of us did, we went ahead and just said, you know what, it's not right. We can't have somebody in there representing, other corporations besides tribes.
In mid-April, the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association sent a similar letter to the Trump administration, accusing Sweeney of seeking to divert emergency tribal COVID-19 aid to Alaska Native corporations. A spokesperson from the Interior Department said it's false that Sweeney has attempted to divert funds away from American Indians. And on the talk show Native America Calling Tuesday, Sweeney commented about the controversy.
I want to reiterate that I am and will continue to be committed to supporting all American Indians and Alaska Natives. My approach has always been focused on inclusiveness, transparency, and partnerships, and I was raised with high ethical standards, and I take those responsibilities seriously. I made sure that my participation was evaluated by career ethics officials who determined that there was no statutory or regulatory prohibitions in the administration's ethics pledge that would limit my participation in consulting with Treasury as they went to implement the CARES Act.
The issue of Alaska Native corporations' eligibility for Tribal CARES Act funding is in federal court. Sweeney declined to comment on the litigation. Meanwhile, tribal leaders, including Aguilar, say they're waiting on much-needed tribal COVID-19 relief aid. Several national organizations are hosting the event, Virtual Indigenous Commencement, on Facebook Friday. They're recognizing Native students as COVID-19 has canceled graduation ceremonies and celebrations across the country. Graduates, families, and friends can share photos, videos, or comments. Melvin Monette Barajas is president and CEO of Indigenous Education, one of the hosts. He says there are already more than 4,500 participants.
People are excited to be able to share their photos. People do feel a little bit bad, I think, that they are not receiving their caps and gowns like they were going to. So we're asking people just to post excited, pictures of their excitement and their personal celebrations. Maybe they're in their traditional regalia, maybe they're not. Maybe it's photos of them throughout the year, just to share who they are and what they're going to do next.
The celebration is for graduates of all grades. The hashtags are 2020 Native Grad and Dear Native Graduates. The virtual commencement will continue through the summer. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
It's the circle of life that teaches us to take care of each other, to use our voice when we are in need. Like the circle of life, there is an opportunity that comes around every 10 years, a chance to participate and let others know who we are and where we are. The 2020 census will be our opportunity to shape our future for generations to come. Shape our future. Start here. Learn more at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.